It breaks my heart to say this, guys, but I don't think I am ever going to be in a position to buy a house. Interest rates are at all-time highs. Inventory is incredibly low, and home prices are skyrocketing through the roof. First-time home buyers, aka me, we are absolutely screwed. So you know what? I'm just gonna bite the bullet, and I think I'm gonna rent for the foreseeable future. And I know it might suck not to own a house today and just rent, but the thing is, I'm making a very smart decision long term. And what we're gonna unpack in this video is my effective strategy to rent while also appreciating my dollars by investing. But then also, if you truly need to own a home, I'm gonna show you guys the most effective, smart approach towards home ownership. What's up, guys? This is your boy, Kenny Finance, and we are going from mansions to apartments. That is right. We are gonna unpack why it makes sound sense in today's market, 2024, summertime, to consider renting instead of buying. And we're also gonna unpack what is the smart thing to do with the money if you're not buying a house. We're also going to touch on why home prices are rising so much. And then lastly, I'm going to touch on that home ownership strategy. All right, renting versus owning. This is a decades-long debate around the American dream. Maybe in the 30s and the 40s, the dream for our grandparents and great-grandparents were to work hard and own a house. That is right. Owning a home was associated with your social status and kind of a symbol that you've made it in America. But it's like the 2020s. It's where we're at now. It's 2024, and this is no longer the case. Your worth, your pride, and your accomplishments are no longer tied to the four walls that you live in. But now we live in a world where there are so many different things you can do with your money instead of buying a house. You can invest in the stock market. You invest in real estate ETFs that kind of get you the same returns of buying a house. You can invest in crypto. You can invest in small businesses, whatever that may be. There's so many things you can buy instead of owning a home to move your dollars higher tomorrow. So that's what I want us to really focus on. Between this rent versus owning a house conversation, what I want to focus on is what is the smartest thing to do with your dollars. Now, I don't want you to go on the streets because that might be the smartest thing to do, is like find some place to live for free. But I don't want you to be homeless. I want you to find a place where you're safe and comfortable. But the thing is, if you're considering making super large purchases, consider the opportunity cost of investing in the stock market or investing in buying a home, especially in today's market. And now I know, before you guys start flooding my comments hating on this, renting is burning money. I completely agree, because you're paying someone else and you are not getting any equity in the house at all. But don't make it seem as if renting is the worst thing you could possibly do. Consider this. If you have an apartment where you pay $2,000 per month versus owning that apartment where you had to pay $4,000 or $5,000 just to own it, and that sometimes is the case, consider renting and take that extra $3,000 that you would have spent and invest it. That's the best thing you could possibly do. And let's not knock on home ownership too much. You can appreciate your equity a ton if you have a home that you bought for one price and it increased to a different price. But the thing is, prices are so high right now that odds are you're not gonna get that much new uptick if you buy a house in today's prices. It kind of helps those that did it like 30, 40 years ago, but I'm talking about first-time home buyers, folks that are trying to get into the market brand new. You're gonna be buying at some pretty elevated prices. And then the other big thing is to consider is that when you're buying a house, you either have to put a 20% down payment for the house and pay about 5 to 10% in closing costs. And FYI, closing costs just goes to the brokers. It doesn't even go into any equity. But that 20% and that 10% for closing costs, that is a lot of money, 30%, that is going to be used to buy a home. And that is a lot of dollars. If you had a $100,000 house, that's $30,000 that you are going to put into a home. 20,000 actually going into the home, 10,000 going to be paid to some broker for some fees. But that 20 grand plus the 10 grand of fees, you could invest that and make a ton of money down the road. All right, so let's try to unpack the key benefits of renting a house or an apartment versus owning a home or an apartment. So let's start with renting first. I think there are 3 essential benefits that comes to renting your place. All right, number 1 is flexibility. When you're renting a house or an apartment, you are flexible to live anywhere you want in the world. You could have a short-term lease where you can do short stints anywhere, or you can do long-term leases if you want to have more permanent roots. You can rent stuff that has no furniture, or you can rent stuff that are already furnished and you can just show up with a backpack and some clothes. Renting is very flexible. Number 2, you outsource the maintenance. a lot of apartments, not all of them, have staff that focus on the maintenance, that focus on repairing things, whatever that may be, that cuts the grass for you, all that jazz. But when you own a house, you have to literally do all of that stuff on your own, or you can hire for it, which is an extra expense. But if you live in a community or an apartment building, a lot of that stuff is already covered for you. All right, number 3 is lower upfront costs and predictable monthly payments. So when you're signing a lease for an apartment, you kind of know the ballpark of what you have to pay every single month to live there. But then also, you don't have to put up any significant down payments to sign a lease and live in an apartment or a house if you want to rent it. You need to focus on trying to make the best moves by minimizing how much cash goes out the door for things that don't have investment-like returns. And when you're renting, a lot of that cash that you do have is actually could be invested instead of being in a down payment in a house. All right, and then going into home ownership, the 3 benefits that I see there is 1, pride. There is pride in owning a home. That's right. Some people work extremely hard and the only goal that they have is they want to own a home. And I don't knock that at all. So if that is your primary goal in life, is to own a house, scratch this video and focus on buying a home. But the thing is, I want you to consider better things you can do with your money. But one big perk is feeling proud that you own a home that you can call La Casa. Number 2, appreciation of your equity. So if you buy a house today at $100 and it grows to $200, you have appreciated the equity value that you have in that house. And if you do sell it, you make more money than you had going into the home. But the thing is, we're living in 2024 where home prices are at all-time highs and new home buyers, first-time home buyers, are not going to be able to participate in that much uptick in gains because prices are so high already. So you can't really expect to have a double in the home price anymore because it's already literally doubled in the last 10 years. And then number 3 is rental income. And for rental income, it's very simple. You can own a house, decide to buy a different one, or move into an apartment and still keep that house. But what you can do with that house is you can put a new tenant in that home to live there, and you can charge them monthly rent and charge something that is higher than your monthly mortgage plus the interest so that you can have 1, paying off your mortgage bill, but then 2, a little bit of extra passive income cash in your pockets. But the key benefit there is you get to keep the appreciation of your equity value if the home rises over time, and you get to get monthly income from the tenant. All right, next. So let's dive into the opportunity cost of your dollars when buying a house. And the opportunity cost is you have to consider the down payment for the home as well as the closing cost. And like I said earlier, a down payment is typically 5% if it's your primary home or 20% if it's a different house or an investment property. That's a lot of cash going out the door. And that is going into the home, which is your equity. Also, you have to pay around 10% of closing costs to the brokers, for the marketers, or whoever helps you find the home. You have to pay that in fees, and that doesn't even go into the equity into the home. And the opportunity cost is not just the dollars that went out on day 1, but it's also the investment returns that you missed out on because you parked your cash in a house instead of the markets. So let's do an example. So if you're looking to buy a house, which is $200,000 for the purchase price, and by the way, that is extremely rare nowadays. So if any of my subscribers are owning a home that's $200,000 and they want to sell it, like I would definitely buy it. But let's just consider this house for $200,000, and let's say our down payment is 20%. That is a $40,000 down payment on that house. Now that's cash going out the door on day 1. Let's consider the opportunity cost of the investments. So let's say I made a 10% return in the stock market with that $40,000 if I invested it. Over time, if I get that 10% every single year, you won't even understand what I'll have in about 32 years. I have $212,000. That is already higher than the value of the entire home I was trying to buy in the first place. So you kind of have to decide, do you want to live comfortably in knowing that you own the home, or do you possibly want to put your money into the markets and maybe rent? But in the markets, you can kind of in 30 years buy 2 of those things. So it's kind of like you really have to decide what works best for you. So I encourage you, before you buy a house, consider the opportunity cost of those dollars and try to understand if you can sort of make your life happen and not compromise the things that you have for your family by renting. And if you can do that, and if you can live comfortably by renting, you can possibly explore investing and making a lot more than you could in a house. Because home prices don't appreciate at the same rate of the stock market. Stock market appreciates like 7 to 10% per year on average. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. But a home price is not moving up 7, 10% per year, unless you're in like a really undervalued market. But usually they're moving like 2 to 3% per year. So why not put your money into higher valued assets? And next, we're going to touch on why home prices are ridiculously priced today. And it is absolutely crazy to see the stat that the average home price today is around $400,000. That is insane. And this has done nothing but go up over the last few years. So let's consider why things are increasing. One, there is increasing building material costs. The cost to build a house is just significantly higher than it was 5, 10, 20 years ago. That's just a fact. And number two, we are in a shortage of quality homes for sale. And that is simply because more people are moving into cities. Cities are being encumbered with too many people, so they need to move out and expand into the suburbs. And there's just too many folks in same concentrated areas that are buying up these houses, and there are less and less available. And when there is a shortage of supply, prices increase dramatically. Is there going to be something that can reverse all this? Who knows? I can't tell you. I'm not a guru. But all I know is home prices are ridiculously expensive, averaging $400,000 plus. And that's just in a normal town. Like consider like Detroit, Michigan, for example, where you can usually get homes for $1 in the city of Detroit. Now you have to pay $100,000, $200,000 to get a home in that exact same neighborhood. Now for the investors, y'all balled out. But for first-time home buyers, you are kind of screwed in today's market. And I bring this all back to the first-time home buyers because you guys are facing one, extremely high home prices, but then two, super expensive interest rates this year in 2024. Like interest rates now are hovering around 7 to 7.5%. That is literally 3x what it used to be like 4 or 5 years ago. So imagine if you were paying $2,000 per month for your mortgage in 2020. Today, you're paying around like $6,000 to $8,000 for the exact same house. So interest rates are ridiculous if you're buying at new interest rates today. But if you bought a home in 2020, like congrats for you because you bought a house and locked in those low interest rates. But if you're trying to buy a house today, you're kind of screwed because prices are already expensive, and then the money you will borrow is going to be priced super, super high because of those interest rates. So first-time home buyers, I feel your pain, but I don't know what we're gonna do about this. So lastly, if you feel you 100% need to buy a house, this is, I think, the only way, literally the only way that you can make this thing work. So what I want you to do is if you wanna own a home, I want you to own a particular type of house, whether it's a multi-unit or a duplex. A duplex might be more reasonable because it's cheaper. What I want you to do is find a duplex in a neighborhood that you like, that fits your family, that has proper square footage, and I want you to find it and buy it. And what you can do is live in one of the units and then rent it out to someone else in the second unit. And have that second unit priced either exactly what your mortgage and your interest is, or if you can get away with it, charge a little bit of a higher price so that you can earn some passive income as well. And that way you can benefit from the rising equity value, but then two, you can also get the monthly income as well. That is, I think, literally the only way how you can own a home in America today and actually feasibly do right by your dollars. Because with interest rates being so high, rents are also pretty high as well, so it won't seem egregious to charge a monthly rate that covers the mortgage and the principal and the interest, okay? So maybe explore a duplex, but if you can't, I wouldn't even consider this whole home ownership conversation. Stack your dollars, wait for prices to fall, and then buy something when interest rates are cheaper. But for right now, it's just such a bad setup, and I don't want you missing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars of investment returns just because you wanted to satisfy like an ego or like a lifetime goal of just owning a home. But focus simply, like take the emotion out of it, all the emotion out of it, and simply focus on the numbers. What is the best use of my dollars today? That is all I want you to focus on. All right, guys, so that's what I have for you. I know, look, I'm sorry that I told you not to buy a house, but the thing is, if you can invest today and make really smart returns, you can buy multiple houses down the road when the markets get a lot better. I just want to be transparent and upfront with you and help you make a smart money play, because right now, buying a new house as a first-time home buyer, the setup sucks. So I want to make sure that you're equipped with the resources and the knowledge so that you know how to make a smarter decision when it comes to renting or owning. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And as always, smash that like button. It means the world to the community and to the channel. I want want to make sure this gets into the hands of a bunch of people dealing with these kind of problems every single day. And for those of you that liked my duplex play, I know it's a fire idea, and it is actually one of my 7 sources of passive income that has made me $100,000 last year. And if you want to hear about the other 6 to make thousands of bucks per month, make sure you guys check out the video that I have below on these passive income streams. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.